Hello, I'm Val and welcome to my channel. You're joining me on what is a really lovely morning actually here in Yorkshire. Blue sky, which is a change after yesterday's stormy weather. I wanted to just run through a few things that I've been making lately and playing around with because it might give you a few ideas for things that you can try. I'll start with a couple of things I've bought. One of them was this sticky water soluble paper stabilizer. I got this off of Amazon. You could get it in a lot of places. Amazon was the easiest for me. It's sheets of A4 sized water soluble paper that you can use for embroidery and other things. And I think you get either 10 or 12 pieces to a pack. And this I used in some of the stuff I'm going to show you today. Also, I treated myself to a new craft book because I've not got enough. Ha ha. I have got too many craft books, way too many. But I saw Susie Q Makes on her channel using this book and making a project from it. And I just couldn't resist buying it. I got it really cheap second hand. It's a beautiful book. A lot of the ideas in here are a bit too advanced for me. But there were just some gorgeous images, and I was flicking through and I came across some I particularly liked, and let me show you. And it's these baubles, and I just love them. They're so bright and colourful and a bit over the top, and there's some closer images there. They're a bit like sweeties, aren't they? Just really lovely. And you can just go as elaborate as you want with them, and you can make different shapes. I think these look like seed pods. These are really amazing. The methods, the author Alysn Midgelow-Marsden, she does go through the methods she uses. It's a bit too advanced for me. You start off with a layer of velvet, you add sari silk, if I can say it, chiffon, knitted wire, which I've never come across. You also use iron fusible web and burnished copper. So yeah, it's a bit beyond me, but I did decide that I wanted to try making these and just coming up with just a simpler method for me. So what that started me on was looking at how to make my own fabric to make the baubles with. Well, it's not so much make my fabric as embellish an existing piece of fabric. And initially what I thought of was that I would use organza as a base. So what I came up with was using a layer of this soluble paper, and it's got, you peel off, if I can do it, you peel off the paper, and you've got this sticky side. There we go. And what I thought was I would take my organza, use that as a base, so add that to the sticky side, and then on top of that I would use needle felting wool. Now, about maybe 3 years ago, I decided, in a great fit of enthusiasm, that I wanted to learn how to needle felt and to make cute little animals and all kinds of things. So I got lots of wool and bits and pieces, and did I learn? No, I really didn't. The enthusiasm kind of left me, and I wasn't that good when I tried, and I think I need to go to some classes and learn properly. But I've got the supplies still, so I thought I would use some of this and use this as the basis for my baubles. So I've got my stabilizer, my organza, and then what I did was just layer on this wool, just cover the surface with this. If you imagine, there's a lot more on there, and then layer in the other direction. So just keep layering and layering. Oops, it kind of sticks to the fingers if you've got dry skin. Let's grab some more. Let's grab a bit of this one. Yep. So you would keep layering and layering until you've got a decent layer all over your base. And then you can add other things to it. So I've got, for example, this metallic ribbon, I suppose you'd call it. It's just really thin. You can add this to it as well. You could add lengths of it. And what I did was I snipped it into little bits, and added those all over the surface. Also added some of this wool. I've got these pieces of dyed wool, all these sort of curly locks, which are really beautiful. You can add those as well, pieces of those. Also scraps of sari silk. So if you have anything like this, sari silk, you can cut this into smaller pieces. You can add all these shredded bits. So you end up with just a lot of lovely colour and threads and little bits of odd thread as well. If you've got a little thread jar that you keep your odds and ends in, you can chop those up and add them. And what you end up with is just lots of colour. And then you get your other piece of stabiliser, you peel off the backing and you make a sandwich and you add that on top. And you've got your little base layer filling and your sandwich top. And then, here's one I did earlier. You get your sewing machine. Well, you can hand stitch it. I have done a few lines of hand stitching. You could hand stitch the whole thing, but it would take you a while and it is quicker to use machine. And you stitch your layers together. Now, I don't have the free motion embroidery foot on my machine, but you can just use straight lines or, curved lines with a regular sewing foot. And you want to get horizontal lines, vertical lines, so you're really sandwiching everything together. And then once that's done, you dip this into some warm water and probably add a bit of sort of soap or something to help dissolve the glue, because these are basically 2 layers of glue that you've got either side, and you put that in your warm water and it dissolves away and you're just left with your organza that you've added to with all this wool and bits of sari silk and little bits of metallic thread. This was originally a sheet of A4 sized, but obviously I've cut it up, and I was really pleased with this. I thought it looked really good, but it's not robust enough, I think, for the baubles that I wanted to make. But I did use it for, I've been making a lot of fabric beads lately. Some of them have paper tubes on the inside, some of them have felt. And I've been having a lot of fun making these little beads, lots of shiny things on them. And so I decided to cover some beads in this material. And these are some that I made where there was a layer of felt as a base, and then I've cut a strip of this, wound it around my bead, and then added some metallic thread and some more little seed beads on there and tiny sequins as well. So yeah, that was good fun. It didn't result in some baubles, but I had another go using the stabiliser again, and this time, let me grab some felt. This time I used, rather than using a base of the stabiliser, I used felt as my base, and I did actually use, just grabbing them from over the side, these needle felting tools, because what I did was just use some felt as a base, and then I used my needle felting wool and my needle and just needle felted the coloured wool onto my base, and that gave me, here we are, my bauble. So it's quite a simple method. It's very, very basic form of needle felting, but you do get a nice way to add colour to felt. And these were a couple I made where I've added some beads onto them, added some just tiny little lazy daisy stitches as well on there. So yeah, I thought they were quite pretty. I was quite pleased with those. I also did another piece of, used another piece of felt and got a different colourway. On these, not all of your little add-ons stay on, because you don't quite catch some of them with your lines of stitching. But yeah, I've got a little tassel on there, some little bugle beads and seed beads and sequins. So yeah, those are a couple of other little baubles I made. And using the same kind of method, I also made this one, which I was thinking of wintry skies and sort of bare trees and frosty mornings, that kind of thing. And I have done a little bit of embroidery on here with that back stitch and added some seed beads, and there are a few little lazy daisies which you might not be able to see because they don't show up too well. But that's a definite, I definitely want to experiment a bit more with that colourway and with doing some more detailed embroidery on this kind of thing. So yeah, those are a few things that I've been messing about with lately. Let me just move those out of the way. I also need to just grab something that's fallen on the floor. I'm back. This is what you get with working on a small table. Things fall on the floor. This is something else I made as well, using felt as a base. And I've just used thread ends for this. This was just felt, and you put down a layer of felt, and you just spread your thread ends over top like that, and then you put a layer of the stabilizer on top, and then you stitch to make your little kind of a sandwich again. So you, on top of this, you put, oh, everything's sticking together. Yeah, you'd put your stabilizer on top and then do your stitching, and then you get something like this, which is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting effect. That might be worth playing with a bit more, that kind of effect. It's quite fun. But yeah, that was something else I've been messing about with. What else can I show you? I've got a couple of things here. I've been watching a lot of videos by Ariane Zurcher as part of my trying to learn embroidery stitches, and she's really good because I'm left-handed and so is she, so I like watching her demonstrate stitching. And this is something that I've been playing about with. It's just, I think this was a shirt originally from a charity shop that I chopped up, and I've just been trying out odd stitches on here, and yeah, just experimenting, really messing about, learning how to do French knots consistently. And this is something I came up with. I don't know what I'll use this for, but I just got a piece of material and put it in a hoop, embroidery hoop, and just stitched. So yeah, I was quite, there are areas of that I quite like. This originally, this material here that I appliqued on, that was a dress that was from a charity shop, and I cut that material out of the dress and then used, it might have been watercolour paint, or it might have been Inktense, I'm not sure, just to colour it. That I did, and that's more or less embroidered. I will add a bit more stitching to that. I also started something else. I decided that, I've always got too many things on the go. I decided that I didn't want to stitch on a plain background initially, because there's that feeling of, I don't know, it's like a blank page in a sketchbook. You're just momentarily frozen by all that blank space. So I thought I wanted to stitch on a patterned background. So I had a go at painting. I used acrylic paint and painted on some calico. And I thought that would give me a better surface to embroider onto and sort of experiment onto, because I'd have some starting points with the colours and the patterns that I formed by using stencils and just mark making. So this is one piece of material that I painted on. I have painted on acrylic before in the on fabric before in the past using acrylic, and it's not always been successful, because I'll show you this I made a while ago. This is a little roll, like a little pouch, and this I painted with acrylic on this, and I really love the effect. But when I came to stitching it, it was a pain in the neck, because I'd used quite thick layers of paint on it, and trying to get your needle through that is really tricky, and it was not fun to stitch. It wasn't pleasant. Your needle didn't go smoothly through it. I kept on with it and ended up with something I like. But yeah, you need to be careful if you're using acrylic on fabric that you only use it thinly. So I painted this one, and I painted this on calico as well. So yeah, so that's a stencil. That is where I've used a top of a spice jar. That's, I don't know what that is. That's probably that might be a milk bottle top where I've used the shape, punched the shape on there. Yeah, so those are a couple of things that I tried using paint, and this, you can see I've used some of that organza based material there. It's a bit of furnishing fabric, some wool that I've couched down. There's a fabric bead that I've made that is just pinned on at the moment while I decide whether that's where it'll end up. Lots of French knots. I am getting better at them. Shishimura, I think that's called Tate de Boeuf stitch, I think. Basically a sort of a V shape and then a little chain stitch on the end of it. So yeah, that has been fun playing with that. That's quite a good one to just do in the evenings. Just keeps me occupied. So I think that is probably all I've got to show you. I hope some of that made sense. Not the best at explaining how to do things. So if there's any questions that you have, then just leave them in the comment section. And if you could give me a like, that would be brilliant. So I hope this has, as I say, made sense, but certainly make any comments that you wish to, and I'll respond. So thanks for your time, and bye for now.